Welcome back, everyone. I am back here down at the orchard that I planted several months ago now, and wanted to go through, since everything's been sort of settled for a while. Today's July 4th, and go through and show y'all some of the successes we've had, some of the, I wouldn't call them failures, but expected results from a few trees. And just to remind everybody, these were all planted back in early spring, and the concept was I'm going to set up irrigation, let them go, and we're not here every single week. This is my family's property, and whenever I come down here, take care of them, but overall try and set up an area to where these trees sort of take care of themselves with as little much intervention as possible, because I don't want to be, when I am down here, working on these trees, but they also need to take care of them if I'm not here for months on end. So I do have an irrigation set up, but it gives them every 3 days a very deep watering. And so far it's been working. Thankfully, it looks like everything's doing pretty well. I can probably up the water. I was worried about giving them too much water, over watering, and then me not being here, not able to see that on a daily basis. But overall, I don't see any sort of overwatering. There is some new growth since I bumped up the watering from a month ago, so that's good to see. But there are a couple areas that, as I expected, weren't going to do so hot. I didn't intend for all of these trees. Well, I intended for all of them to succeed. I knew a couple of them weren't going to. So we'll go over that. I have some fruit that I was actually able to pick, which is pretty cool, seeing as these have only been in the ground for, I think, 4 months now. But yeah, we'll go through the areas that worked out really well, show you some of the areas that are growing really well, and then what I plan to do to sort of fix the areas that aren't doing so great. So let's get started. All right, first tree we're going to go over is my Marseilles Black VS fig tree. And as you can see, there are quite a few figs on this tree that are ripening. We even got to eat 2. One that was drying on the tree, which is really nice to see, and then one that was looked like it had just ripened. Now, the one that was drying on the tree tasted really good. It was a very flavorful fig. The one that had split a little bit was not so much flavorful. It was still good, and the reason being for that is because that it had been overwatered, which makes sense. We have been getting a lot of rain down here recently. I mean, it's 92% humidity. You can probably see me sweating. So that was to be expected, but it is cool to see that this tree is holding up really well. It's the only tree now that has figs on it. The other ones did have figs, but I believe something came by and ate all of them. And this one's been left alone, which is pretty cool to see. Like I said, there's probably 4 figs that are ripening right now over the next several days. We've already eaten 2. And there's still probably 20 figs, very young ones, on this that we'll get throughout the rest of the season. So this one's been very productive. The rest of my trees, at least fig tree wise, are doing great. They're just putting on a lot of growth, which I expected. It takes a while to adapt to this sort of soil, at least from what I've been seeing. This one's been the quickest to adapt and the quickest to improve, but it's stopped growing. The other ones have been continuously growing, so hopefully that means they'll start putting on some figs just sort of later in the season, which is fine. We're in Texas, so our season can sometimes go in December, which is sort of crazy to think about. We usually don't get our first frost till middle of January, if it's normal. But besides that, there's only 1 tree on this fig row that I'm going to talk about. Other than that, all of them have been doing really well. They've been putting on a lot of new growth, and this one's been actually providing some fruit. So it's pretty cool to see. All right, here's the one fig tree that I was talking about. It is my Celeste tree, and it was full of figs up top, but it dropped all of its leaves whenever I planted it in the ground. So I knew it had a little bit of shock. This tree also is the only tree that I bought from a big box store. It was bought from Lowe's. It looked like it was struggling to begin with. They had left it out during a couple of freezes that we had here, which normally these trees are perfectly fine with the freezes, but when they're in pots, it's a little bit harder for them to survive those freezes. So I knew this guy was going to be a little tough. But cool thing about figs is, as you can see, it is adapting. as much as this top is dead, and it's completely dead, the fact that I could snap off some of these earlier, it has started growing out from the roots once again. So that's one of the reasons why I planted these trees to begin with, is they're super adaptable, and if they're killed off during a freeze or whatever it may be, they're gonna come back. So that's super nice. It's really hard. Now, yes, I'm gonna have to probably wait till next year to get fruit off of this, but it's not dead. And I don't have to replant something. I don't have to redo it. It's gonna come back. So all I'm gonna do is probably cut this at the next layer of growth. And that way this tree can put as much effort into growing what's actually still working, instead of trying to rejuvenate up top that's already drying and dying out. But besides that, that's the only tree that really has struggled. My CDA fig did struggle whenever I first planted it, dropped all of its leaves, but it's doing perfectly fine now and actually bouncing right back. So it's just a little transplant shock. Overall, besides that, the rest of the fig trees are doing great. It's good to see. All right, they can't all be success stories. This is my peach tree, or one of my peach trees. Its little brother is over there. I had a sneaky suspicion when I put this one in the ground that it was not going to be doing so well. And the only reason being is its little brother behind it started putting on a ton of foliage, and this one put on nothing. But it survived till right now, actually. Besides that, it had little leaves from when I first planted it in the ground, but it didn't grow. It didn't put on new leaves like its little brother behind it. So I had a sneaky suspicion that this one just wasn't going to go anywhere. It stunted and it did not continue. So I'm not too surprised that this guy died. The good news is this is the only tree that did not survive. So I planted probably 20 trees and one of them did not survive. That's a pretty good rate in my opinion. That's 5%. And I knew something wasn't going to survive because I'm not down here every day to check on these guys. So they have to sort of adapt on their own. So the fact that only one of the 20 that I planted did not survive is pretty good. And the better news is I bought this thing from H-E-B. It's a grocery store here in Texas. It was $5. The chances of losing this tree versus gaining a tree were very low. Or the failure rate didn't really matter because it was $5. I was risking it on a tree to try and learn and see how this peach variety would do. I don't think it has anything to do with the peach variety, but it was worth the $5 to give it a try and see what happens. Thankfully, I bought 3 trees whenever I went to H-E-B, 3 peach trees, and I have the third one is back at our house. And it's doing fantastic. It's in this 5-gallon pot, and I'll just wait till the fall when it loses all of its leaves, goes dormant, and I'll replace it right here, and it will do perfectly fine. It's extreme. It's out of the 3 peach trees, it's doing the best. So not too heartbroken over this guy. Sort of had a feeling. Overall, pretty happy with the fact that that is the only tree that did not survive out of all of the trees. Besides that, there's not really much more to show off. I'll sort of do a quick little B-roll around and just show y'all several of the other trees down here. We've even got a little pomegranate growing, which is pretty cool. Overall, everything's done really well. Even through the high humidity, it's done really well. Me learning how much I need to water, it's done really well. Everything's surviving. Even one of the fajoas that I thought was going to die bounced back as soon as I started watering things a lot more. So overall, I'm really happy and really impressed with how this orchard / garden, whatever you want to call it, is coming along. The one thing that did absolutely fail is the mulch. The way that I set up the mulch did not work out the way that I intended it to, which is perfectly fine. Learned from my lesson, and whenever it comes fall, I'm just going to mulch the crap out of this area, and that way I don't have to worry about the weeds as much. But besides that, everything's been working out really well. I've started watering stuff more. Like I said, it's every 3 days I give it at least a gallon or more of very slow watering. That gallon is spread out over an hour to hour and a half. And that way it's a very deep, slow watering that they get. But everything else is looking fantastic. I'm pretty happy with the progress, and hope to give you guys an update later in the year. Thanks. You have a good one, guys.